Welcome to Pathways to Greatness, the show where faith meets focus and potential becomes purpose. I'm your host, Jeff Forrester, mental performance coach, speaker, and believer that greatness begins within. Each episode, we'll uncover the biblical principles, mindset strategies, and daily disciplines that help student athletes, parents, and leaders just like you walk boldly in their calling. Let's step onto the path that leads to true greatness, God's way. Hey, and welcome back to Pathways to Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Forrester, and on today's show, Brady McDonald joins me. And this is an episode that it fills my heart. So to give you a background, I had Brady on in episode 87, and this was on September 17th, 2024. So he's one of the first ones. And what's so interesting, we talk about this in the episode, is the way I met Brady was unlike many of the people, many of the guests that I have on. Well, I guess it's not as common. So he slid into my DM and pitched who he was and that he would love to come on the show to share some of the tactics that he used to go from 0 to 100. And what that means is he went from being a non-athlete to running 100 miles. And since then, he's done the Moab 240. He's done half Ironman. He's done multiple 100-mile races, which is really extraordinary. To go from 0 to doing those things is pretty significant. And in the first episode, we just talk about the tactics that he used to do that. The other part is he's a highly successful business person, an entrepreneur, and where he does real estate development and just a lot of really cool things. That's all great, but that's not really what's truly substantial to me. Over the course of the year since I've known Brady through social media and through the conversation that we had, he has turned his life over to Christ probably about, I think he said 4 or 5 months ago. And when you see him before, he was always smiling, always motivated. But I tell you this, if you watch his early stuff and you watch him now, you compare the conversation that we had before and now, he is a completely different person. There is so much joy and light in Brady that it overwhelmed me with happiness when I saw that and excitement. So much so, I just reached out. I was like, hey, I would really like to talk to you about how life is now as compared to before, with the catalyst and the turning point being is surrendering your life to Christ. And so he talks about his experience. He talks about what it means to him, that pivotal moment when he was on a run and just made that decision. And so if you're a new believer, if you're thinking and kind of touching into, is this something that I need to do? You feel your heart's being stirred. This is a great episode for you. So I'm not going to continue to go on and on because it's such a wonderful episode and I could talk an hour just about the episode. So with all that being said, hang on, get ready. Ladies and gentlemen, Brady McDonald. Well, Brady, welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been, about a year?
Yeah. So I went back and I looked at everything because I was trying to remember how we crossed paths and when did we cross paths. So for the listeners, I had Brady, this is Brady McDonald, and I had him on September 17th, 2024, which is crazy. So I rewatched the episode this morning. Great episode. So I encourage everybody to go back. It was episode 87. And then Brady, you're going to be episode 155.
Wow, dude, you put in a lot of work in the lab.
Yeah. And then you're also the very first episode of 2026 as well.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, so it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff has happened to Brady in the past year, and it's been incredible to watch. Not only, from the physical feats that you've accomplished, but for me, that's super special is the spiritual feats that you've accomplished as well. And when I went back and watched, and and that's why I reached out to get a hold of you. So one, let me rewind because I'm so excited about this conversation, is we met through just a cold DM that you sent in Instagram.
Yeah.
And it was you explaining your 0 to 100, what you do, and that you wanted to connect and explain and teach tactics to the audience. And that's what Pathways to Greatness is all about, is so that way people can pursue. And we had a really, really good conversation. And a couple of things that stood out to me that I took notes when I rewatched the episode was how you talked about, you had your core four: family, fitness, relationships, and business. And you specifically said, and I'll add spirituality when I can get it in there. And so it was interesting because you could see that you were looking and searching. And again, if you go back and watch, you're a very bright, energetic guy anyways, but I have seen a massive transformation just in your face and the joy that it oozes out of you, and just over the past several months. And it's been really, really cool to see.
That's awesome. You're kind of bringing tears to my eyes. And I'm glad that you reminded me of that. I said that, adding spirituality in there, because I think God was at work, well before I was aware of it.
Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt that was the case. And that's really interesting that I said that.
Yep. And we talked about small gains, and you talked about just how you've made gains over, at the time it was over the course of 3 years, about eliminating alcohol out of your life, eliminating people out of your life that didn't feed and add to your family, your fitness, relationships, and business, that you just cut any of those things out. And then the other thing we talked about was just over making small changes and small additions to your life. And I had mentioned to you about one of the small changes that I had made, and I issued a challenge to you about just opening the YouVersion app. And at that time, I gave you my days. And so as a report to you, as of today, I'm at 2,818 days in a row of opening the YouVersion app. And one thing that brought tears to my eyes is I didn't look at the date, and I should have, but you reached out and was like, hey, what's the name of that app again? I think I'm ready. And that was just amazing.
Yeah, because that's still that is a pinnacle. You connect the dots looking backwards in anything you do in life. And in my faith journey, having you say this one thing was the thing that changed it for me was reading a passage, reading something of the Bible every single day, a little bit every day. And that stuck with me. And I know you hit me up a couple times, I think, after that, and said, have you done it? And I just wasn't there yet. But when I did get there, I'm doing that now. But the reason why is because of you and your suggestion.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to get emotional.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So everybody, just Brady, for those people who haven't gone back to episode 87, I really want you to, because he goes more in depth about his journey up until a year ago, of what he's done. And I just, if you can, just really quickly encapsulate where you were, and then what had started you on this 0 to 100 journey, which now I guess is folded into 0 to 240. It keeps growing, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's ever evolving, always trying to become just a better version of me. And so it started, I'm Canadian. And so up until 4 years ago, we lived in Canada. I was a utility arborist by trade, and then we got into real estate investing and developing in 2015. My wife and I started that company. And as I started drinking when I was 14 years old in small town Ontario, and that stayed with me until, about 2.5, 3 years ago. But as I made more money, I had big boats and the socializing, and that was just part of our lifestyle. And eventually I was getting really tired of it, of 2021, and I knew it was one of those things that it held me back. It was 2 steps forward. I would make 2 steps forward during the week, and then 2 steps backwards on the weekend. And it's a vicious life cycle. And I eventually I did something called the 75-day hard. That was the first time I didn't drink for 75 days straight. And everything in my life got bigger and better. But then the old habits and the people came creeping back in. I kind of went back to where I was, became the old version of me who I wasn't proud of, who I lived with, I was more regretful of and whatnot. And so I learned that doing hard things was a good replacement for the socializing and the wasting of time and the alcohol and the things that come along with that. And so I started doing, I did a couple half Ironmans, and then, at that point I was actually living we had the courage to move the family to start all over in the US in December of 2021, just basically 4 years ago. And then business got really hard. We got hit by a hurricane. Our business interest rates, we were in real estate, interest rates went through the roof. And I was at like the bottom, and I didn't know I was at the bottom, but like we were losing 300 to 800,000 a month, having to come up with this money. And it was terrifying. And I remember this one moment, and looking back on it, there was a God moment, because I wasn't spiritually connected at this point, but I was sitting on the back of my boat and in the Bahamas, and I just had this voice tell me that tomorrow's the last day I'm going to drink. And and it's because I saw the future of my daughters. I saw myself if I didn't stop. Like, I saw the vision. I knew that if I didn't put in the work, that they would have to go through the same struggles and pains that I'm going through right now, and not have to having the ability to cope with things healthy. And so I just made that decision. And it was like, again, looking back, it was clearly God talking to me, because I didn't have the strength to do it at that moment by myself. But because of him, I signed up for another 50 miler, and I ended up winning that. I ended up in 3 days in the hospital, and then I signed up for a 100 miler and raised almost $100,000 for children's charity, and then it just kept on, but eventually I got connected to, the spiritual journey, and maybe we'll connect that to a different story. But the things just got bigger and bigger and bigger and better, and I just became a better version of myself every time I put in more work and self-work. And so the fitness was, dropping alcohol was one thing, leaning into doing hard things was another thing, made me a better person. And then the next most amazing thing was leaning into my faith.
And thank you for that recap. And what's great about that is, and I want people to hear what you had to say, is you don't have to run 100 miles to do hard. Is what Brady was doing. He was raising the floor, which in turn pushed the ceiling higher. So a rising tide lifts all ships. So as he started to build on things, and if you get a chance, follow him on Instagram, and you can follow all the crazy things that he's been doing over and over again, but they've all built on themselves. And what you need to do is just do something that's hard for you. Don't compare yourself to what Brady's doing, because he just wants to challenge you to do something that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's just like, and that's all that happened to me. I mean, they were never 100 miles. I would have never thought I could have even done that. Like I after I did a marathon, I was like, why would anybody ever do this again? Right. But then you do a little bit harder, something that scares you a little bit more, because that now you can do a 5K. So why don't we try doing a 10K? Or I know I could hike for 3 hours. Why don't I hike for 5 hours? Or, or whatever it is, if you're into paddling or swimming, but something physically hard. And that's where you start to create this belief system in yourself that anything's possible, because you've seen this pattern time and time again that you're able to overcome. You know the fear of the doubt, right? And then what happens when you take action, and then what happens when you actually, you can actually accomplish that thing. And it's like, wow, if that's true, then what else is true?
So if people want to start cutting out things that don't serve them, what were some of the things, like how would you encourage someone to take an inventory and make that decision of what serves and what doesn't?
Yeah, I think like that was one of the biggest things, is like I made you start to have to define your standards, right? What are you going to tolerate in life? And for me, the one thing that I said to myself, and it was in that moment on the boat, is like, if it doesn't serve my family, my fitness, my relationships, my business, I'm not doing that. And so with that comes, okay, I could have the option to hang out with this person or to not. And if I hang out with the person and do the things, does it serve any of these things? Does it add value to any of these things? And if the answer is no, then then the answer is no. And then, so that was an easy way for me to basically just not make it an emotional decision, but make it a very factual decision. And so, coming up with a standard or a one-liner, use that one if that works for you. But, if it doesn't add value to these things, I'm not doing it. And then you can, you got to start, I think you need to start to lean into your body first, because it's really hard if you're if you're not looking after your body, like your physical body, by exercising is number one in my thoughts. And then you're going to start fueling it better. Okay. And then you're going to start, and then as this happens, this is going to get better naturally, right? Then you're going to be much more open to faith and spirituality and connection to people. And you're going to have the strength and courage to say no to more people if you have the confidence within your body. and I'm not talking about your body has to be six pack. This just, trust me, you work out, you're going to feel better about yourself, period. You're going to get more courage. Your body might not change, which is fine, but you are going to feel so much better about yourself. It's just the way it works. And so my philosophy is a body first. Look after your body first. That'll develop a mindset. Your relationships will get bigger, and then just everything else in life ultimately will follow suit.
Yes, you have to have a clear mind and a sound body, and that's one of the things that they do go hand in hand. And that's where I know you would agree is doing hard things is the best place to hear God. Like when you're when you're struggling, it's amazing what you will hear. And so before we get into because I remember, and it's usually at night. So if you ever do something hard, I mean, regardless of the time of day, you'll hear something when you're exhausted because you just don't have the ability to put up walls. That's why you see people that run marathons and run that just bust out crying uncontrollably because it just, everything comes out. But I know for me, when I've done anything that has been overnight, that's when it's you face everything because you can't see anything. You can't, everything's quiet. There's not all the frequencies going on in the air. And so did you see some of that when you did your Moab?
Dude. Well, it first started, I might have said it on the last one, but the last podcast when we spoke, but the first time it happened, and again, I wasn't into my faith at this point, was my very first 100-miler. And I think it's because, like, to your point, like, you were at that point, you're removed of all ego, right? So then you're actually like more open to this. And like, there's this one moment we were like 70 miles in, and it went through all day, all night. And it just felt this overwhelming sense of love. It was like angels were carrying me. It was the most out of body experience I've ever had. And then after that, the days were gloomy. Went back up to Canada, and it was miserable. And I don't generally feel good in that. But it was still beautiful. And I'm like, I was not looking into my faith after, like, for quite a while after that. But I'm like, you know what? There's something here. There's something more. And then the first time I prayed was during I DNF'd 100-miler in April of this year. So did not finish it. I was 80 miles in, and I had lung issues. So I ended up pulling out. I was in like 23rd place out of 300. And I pulled out of that race, and I immediately went back to like, hey, we just need to fix this problem. So I came back home to Fort Myers, Cape Coral, went and saw a pulmonologist. And so at this point, I was signed up to do Moab 240 in October. But now I have this lung issue. I'm like, I don't know if I can run Moab in October. Like, I need to get back out there, fix this problem, and get back out there and try it now. So I signed up 3 weeks later for a 125-miler. And to test the lungs, test the inhaler and stuff. And I was so defeated from mile 70 to 100. Like, there was no way that I could finish this thing. And I went into the aid station at mile 100, and my friends and my community and the crew that was with me was amazing. But the crew that I surrounded myself with that was not there was equally as part of the solution to this as anything. And so that really reminded me of the power of your crew, and not just your crew. Like, and this is not just related to running. This is related to the people that you're surrounded with yourself with in general. Those are the people, like, if they know that, hey, my goal is to get through this divorce, or to, get through this hurdle in business, or to go through this 100-miler, they need to know the outcome that you're desiring, and not just give you the answers that are going to make you feel good about in the moment. So they helped me get to the point where I would go back out there and start running. And I prayed for the first time at mile 101. And it was wild. It was the best I had felt during the entire 100 miles from there till like 125 miles. So it was just like, and from there, I just saw more proof. And some of us need to see the proof. It's weird, right? Because faith is, faith, you can't always see it. You got to believe it. And, but some of us need proof. And I think once I started paying attention and creating a relationship with God, and talking to him and praying consistently, I see the proof everywhere in my life now. Right. And which just deepens the relationship, deepens the faith, deepens, the connection to the people, his people. And, but yeah, doing the hard things has been I mean, I don't know how else like you can rip yourself of all the ego where it just makes yourself so susceptible to seeing and hearing him.
Yep, for sure. Do you remember what you prayed at that 101?
Yeah, it was well before this. Just to let you know, I didn't even know how to pray, so I actually asked my friend, like, "What is it? How do you even do this?" So he told me that. I'm like, you're nervous, you don't know how to. It was like the week before, and he told me how to do it. So you give thanks, and then you do your ask, and it was about just God, just please give me the strength, the muscle, the strength, and the mindset to endure to keep pushing through the pain. That essentially that was the prayer, and to get me to the finish line, that was the prayer. Just asking him to give me what I don't have, what I'm not strong enough to do on my own, ultimately.
Well, that encapsulates faith in a nutshell. And I think it's very well said, because we can't do it without him. And that's the trap I know that social media is pushing, is that it's all about you. You're the one. Don't depend on anybody else but you. And it's you can't. I've never seen anybody succeed by themselves ever.
Yeah, dude. And I think that's like, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that I feel like that's the trap that a lot of us are in. We're trying to chase, we've all got these expectations for ourselves. And it's like, hey, if I get here, I'm going to feel peace. I'm going to be happy. If I get here, I'm going to feel this or feel that. If I'm going to get here, or, I'm looking to, if I get that relationship with that guy or that girl, they're going to help me do this. Like, all these people are imperfect, number one, right? Their priority is not your priority, like God's is. And like, none of those things, those possessions make you feel any better ever. Like I've had millions of dollars go in my bank account, and it does not make me feel any better, but I still chased it to make it, and thinking that it would, right? And then the only time, for the first time, that I've ever actually found peace was when I created a relationship with him. It's the most amazing and wonderful thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I hope everybody can find it. And well, they can. I know it's just a choice. And it's just like, I was on a podcast the other day, and they said, what keeps you up at night? And I honestly can say nothing right now, for the first time in my life. And I'm like, I've got a lot of pressure that I create on myself with regards to the fitness, but the business is, really, big deals. There's a lot of risk and stuff associated to that, and added pressure with raising a lot of money for charities and other things. But for some reason with him, I can tolerate it. And I just trust that he's got my back.
Yeah. And what I like, and what's very obvious when people see you and watch, is you're not a man of lack of action. I mean, you're a man of action that moves forward, and God requires that of us. And some people think, well, if I put my faith in him, well, here it is, I'm just going to let God do it. Well, why haven't you done anything? Well, you haven't gotten off the couch. Like, you haven't done your part, and God lays everything out for us, and we just have to go after it. He requires, the Bible says, knock and he will answer.
Yeah.
Seek and you will find. It's not, I'm going to lay it in your lap. You've got to go look for it. You got to go get it. And I think that's actually not, I know that that's an important part.
100%. Yeah. Like, one of my prayers. So I decided I was going to, because I didn't know how to pray, and I didn't really have a relationship with God. But one of the first things that I thought, okay, I'm going to do it 0 to 100. I'm going to pray for 100 days straight. And it's just that practice of, and my prayer most days was, thank you, Lord, for everything you've given me, for my family, whatever I'm thankful for. Right. But, and then, our Heavenly Father, please just give me the sign. Show me where I need to go. Show me who I can help. I will do the work. I will do whatever you need me to do to get A, B, C, or D done. Right. But that's what I'm asking. I don't need the work done. I'll do the work. He knows that. He just needs to, I need to be open enough to accept his messages and to go where he tells me to go. Please just give me those signs, because we're going to put in the work, baby.
Yeah. And it's easier said than done, because sometimes he shows you the sign, like, you really want me to go over there? I'm not sure if that aligns with what I want.
It's Yeah, yeah, it's true. One of my friends actually asked me, because he's on this faith journey himself, and he's just like, well, what confuses me as an example, and he's from Jamaica, he's like, all these people prayed that this hurricane would just turn, and God didn't turn the hurricane. It's like, well, no, that's not how this works. And I don't know all the answers, but if you prayed to say, give me the sign, show me what I should do to save my family and my, whatever, I'm sure he said, get the heck out of the way.
Yeah.
Right. Like there, you have to put in the work, and it goes back to that. He doesn't just move things, all the time. You might actually have to be the one to move.
Yes. And so many times, and again, like I don't know what he's doing. I can't. There's so many times I'm like, I have no idea what is going on right now. I just need to have, like you said, the understanding of give me the ability to see what you need me to do. And I know in my life, sometimes it's come from what I determine as being a tragedy. And through that is when the most have been revealed to me. And we had a neighbor, she's young. She had like a very rare form of breast cancer. She had one child, I think he was 2, and they found out that she had breast cancer after she had gotten pregnant. They'd had difficulty of getting pregnant. She ended up having twins. They said, well, here's the deal. You can either go through chemo and risk your twin boys' life, or you can go full term and then we can treat it aggressively after. So she chose that. And she was in her 30s and she ended up passing away. She had the 2 boys. The 3 boys are super healthy and they're great. And one of the things that just was very powerful for me was the idea that she posted one day that she was grateful that she went through this because it just encouraged her faith. It drew her closer to God, which ultimately is what we want. That's what we need, is to be closer. And for someone who was snatched out of life way beyond what we would determine is fair, when you really look at it, one, she was grateful for it. And she has the eternal reward now. What we're all striving for, she got before the rest of us.
Yeah.
It's still difficult from a human perspective, but it's that tragedy of bad things happen to good people. And that's the biggest question that I always struggle to help people with when they ask the question, because I don't feel like I have a good answer for that. But bad things happen to good people. And then they say, well, why did God allow that? Well, God doesn't allow that. Sin is in the earth. It's here. That's what's causing all the problems that we have. And you can keep researching it back and you can find where man has gotten their hands in everything and ruined it. But I didn't mean to take the microwave from you. No. It was just when you said that, I just thought just the tragedy so many times reveals true character, and it also reveals the opportunity that we have for growth and to be able to endure the hard thing.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, that's so, it's just heart-wrenching to think about. And and I think when you connect this back to, how do you react in those circumstances? Obviously, let's just take a little bit step back and say it's not that horrific, but because bad things happen to a lot of people all the time. And it could be like, we all have bad things happen to us every year. And so, how you react and how you look for, the advice or the wisdom out of that thing really matters on how you move forward. And I think like that's when you go back to why I do hard things and why I said I think everybody needs to do hard things, is because in those times of hardship and like when you're creating it on purpose, you still develop those skills that allow you to seek the wisdom. You seek the wisdom and you get the skills associated to what's going to help you endure the things that are unintentional, like are not desired to you when they do happen in life, like this in worst case scenario. It makes you, I think because I think that's really what it's about. It's about growth for me anyway, to becoming a better version. And as bad as that was, I can guarantee you there's a lot of other people around that lady that, had to go through immense amount of pain and struggle, but there's a massive lesson that was learned from that. And there's people that are loved more and loved differently and loved more intently than ever before and forever will because of her, and it's like, how do we find those, though that piece of wisdom on purpose, faster.
Right.
Right. And that's
It's
why
being prepared.
yeah. And that's why I do hard things. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, wow.
Can you remember that moment where you were like, there's no question, I need to give myself to Christ. I need to make that move now because I can't wait any longer.
Yeah. So my friend John was bugging me for months. John Hoffman is his name. And he's been like my mentor and like helping me kind of work through this. I was actually on a stage speaking like the old Brady. I was telling the story of that first moment where I had that overwhelming sense of love when I was running that 100 miles. And then I'm like looking around and it was just a room full of God men and women, business owners. So I'm like, well, maybe that's why I'm on the stage. And then John and I, he's a pastor. He became really good friends. And he was bugging me like for months. He's like, Brady, just surrender, you stubborn bugger. Just surrender. And I'm like, to me, you know, like the word surrender, and a lot of you people, if you're new to faith, it's like, to me, some of these words are a little hard to kind of get my head wrapped around, because it's just like, they're just, you know, it's not what in, you know, the real world we would think it is. Right. And it's just, there's some other things that just take time. But I remember I was running and it was just around the corner from my house. And I forget, I don't think there was an exact moment, but I was like listening to some really great gospel music. And I threw my hands up in the air and I just surrendered. And I just, you know, prayed, and I was running and I was thanking God, and I was just like totally surrendering and realizing that everything that I was ever able to do, all the goodness, all the greatness, all the people I've been able to help, the businesses, the, you know, like our portfolio, the donations, the miles, like all the people that I've ever helped, it's because of God. It's not me. It wasn't me that's done this. It was him that did all these things. It was like all one big moment. It was like, boom, I now know, you know, why I'm putting in all this effort. It's not for me. It's for him. I'm doing his work. And I just knew, I'm like, okay, I need to get baptized. And I'm like, and I had a vision. I know how I was going to do it. I need to do it before the Moab 240. It wasn't that long ago, right? Like I'm talking like, was it 3.5 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 4 months ago, I guess. And yeah, it was just like, honestly, from there I had peace. It was like it was like a light switch. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I bet you that was probably one of your fastest splits after you raised your hand. You probably felt like you're running on air.
My slowest one, because I was waving my hands in the air.
Yeah. There's no form there.
Yeah.
No, but it's so great. And thank you for sharing that. And it fills my heart with joy to hear that, because it's available to everybody. It's an opportunity that I know when I rededicated and regave myself over, is that it was that moment of, like you said, about being able to go to sleep, is you just close your eyes and go to sleep, you know? And it's an amazing process to go through when you're not having to worry about, well, what lie did I tell that I need to tell again? And what did I do that, are tired of waking up feeling bad because of food choices you made or alcohol choices, and a lot of that just comes with, like you said earlier, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of feeling that way. I'm tired of looking at those things and not feeling good about myself anymore. And so the question that I'd reached out to you about, that I really want you to dig into, because I know we're somewhat tight on time, is how your life is now as compared to before that moment where you raised your hand and you surrendered all.
Yeah. So, I mean, before it was self-dependency, and I think we kind of touched on this already. And now I don't believe that it's up to me. So it's not, I don't feel like the weight is on my shoulders anymore. I don't think I have to like there's nobody here on earth that I need to please. And because now I believe that he's with me. Like I'm not seeking imperfect humans for help and advice and support, and I'm seeking his. And so it's just like, it's given me that inner peace, like that calmness. And I'm not a very calm guy. Very A-type personality, right? Go, 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 go. But I can do that, but also have the connection to know, like, I've just connected to people more, and I'm just obviously connected to him, but I think just overall, it's just the inner peace. And I think the things that I look forward to now are, like, there's never, like, the thing I think about most, to be honest, is going to church on Sunday, which is, it's like a consuming thought. I cannot wait to go. And it's not got anything to do with it's not as much of a connection to God necessarily, because I feel I'm very connected when I'm running or outside. Some people say, I just don't feel like I'm connected to church. One of my friends said, well, he said he's not connected to God at church, so he doesn't necessarily go, and he gets connected when he's outside, which is fine too. And I think, for me, I love going to church more for the connection to music and the connection to gospel and praise, and then the people. I feel like, there's a lot of people in there obviously doing God's work and that are trying to get better, whether they're vocal about it or not. They're there for a reason. I just, like, there's something powerful about being in that atmosphere, around being, around good people. So those are the big things. And I think the other cool thing is just, like, trickling it into my daughter's world, in a really healthy way. And, like, I mean, they're the ones that showed me what belief looked like, because I was slow. I had all these answers I had to answer before I could go all in and surrender, where I took them to church, and this was a God moment. But my 5-year-old daughter, she was 4 at the time, she was writing, she was bored, so she was sketching on the tithing envelope, and she hands it up to me, and it said, pray first. She couldn't write her name. And I'm like, and that was actually why I decided to pray for 100 days straight, because I'm like, this kid can't even write her name. Her name's Lexi. I mean, she could probably write her name, but that's it. Like, how did she come up with this, right? And then my older daughter, just, like, when she's into the music, she just, like, her eyes are closing and she just feels it. And I'm like, this is how you believe, right? They showed me how to do it well before I did it. So now I take a lot of pride in just taking them. They enjoy it. Like, it's no pressure, but we just show up every week. We do what we said we were going to do. And faith, to your point, Jeff, you said it right. You need to do a little bit every day. It doesn't have to be a lot, but, like, 5 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day. Look at a couple verses in the Bible. Listen to one song a day. That's enough to fill your cup, to get a little message. That's what I probably haven't listened to regular music since I started becoming a believer too, because the music out there is amazing.
Well, and it's like you said before, also, you were talking about feeding your body earlier, of cutting out all the junk and take care of your body. It's the same thing with your mind. If you keep pounding, like, I don't watch the shows that I used to watch, and some of them were great television, but I don't want that in my head. I don't need it in my head. Like you said, it does not serve me on the path that I'm on to watch some of those things. And I've gone back and I've like, let me watch this show. And I don't even get 10 minutes in. I'm like, nope, don't want any part of it. And you'll hear people talk about certain shows that they're like, oh, this show's great. That show's great. And I'll try it. And I'm like, nope, I don't want any part of it, because it just reminds me too much of the things that I turned away from to move forward. And about your kids, there's no, I'm trying to think of the word, coincidence that God uses children as a reference throughout the whole Bible, because they're so pure, because they haven't been filled with the nonsense and the baggage that we have. Is, like you said, is that they love unconditionally, and they appreciate, they have joy, they run, like you said, they run with their hands up all the time. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And that's where I agree with you, is we can learn so much from our kids, because they don't have all those things that we have, and we can set them up to not endure all the things that we did. They're going to have their own challenges, their own issues, but, like, you're teaching them how to equip. And when you said pray first, that's your next t-shirt or tattoo. I mean, that's it. I mean, because that should be our specific phrase. And this could be for everybody else, is that have that phrase of pray first. Is if you're challenged with a situation, pray first. If you're celebrating a moment, pray first. And have you read Wild at Heart by John Eldredge?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's such a wonderful book. All the John Eldredge stuff is really, really good. Okay. And he has, I'll send you the different apps that he has, but they're great. And he has a Wild at Heart app, and he reads things, and he was a theater major. So it's just very eloquent. He writes beautifully, but he prays before everything. He's a big elk hunter. He prays before he goes on an elk hunt. He prays before he literally prays first. And I fall way short of that. Like I don't. I pray a lot, but I forget sometimes. And I'm like, that was the perfect time. Why didn't I do that at that moment?
But I think the thing is, like, there is no perfect time. I think it's just, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be first. It could be during.
Yeah.
Like I find that, like, I do a lot just during wherever I am, like I was in, city council meetings, and I'm praying for him to come down in his Holy Spirit and into these people and into their hearts. And I'm, it's just like praying while I'm running, praying, during dinner, like, cause I just think the more we do it, it's like, and if you don't necessarily if you're not necessarily a believer, I want you to think, if you don't mind, Jeff, I'm just going to explain this. Like, people talk about having gratitude and speaking good things into their life. Well, that's what prayer is, essentially. That's a version of it, right? If you just think about it that way, you're thanking God for the things that he's given you, or the things that he's done, or the things that you have, etc. And then you're asking for something to become true, right? Or asking for signs, and like, I know I've got vision board right over to my left, and I know that stuff comes true because I painted it so clear in my mind that this is what I'm going after. And I think that's the power of, for the non-believers out there. I just want to try to connect the dots. So some of these things that you all hear about, it's a version of the same. And I think you just practice it consistently, you will see the proof that you need to believe, Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
No, that's great. And it's so true. And it's a process. And it's not that you're all of a sudden going to raise your hand and run down the street and everything's going to poof and magically happen. You're going to make all the right decisions and do everything. We are flawed individuals, and we are challenged on a regular basis. And that's the beauty of forgiveness and God's grace, is that there's nothing that you can do that can't be forgiven. Mm-hmm. And it's just turning away, and repenting is turning away from your old self and becoming new. So for me, my Bible verse is Galatians 2:20, that it's no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And it's that reminder of the old Jeff is gone. Like, I liked him. He was a lot of fun. He was a really nice guy. He liked people, respected people, but this new Jeff is way better.
Yeah.
And he's way better because he understands all the shortcomings that he has, and he doesn't want to do those things anymore because they don't serve him or serve the capital H him.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah. Well, we could keep going on, and I know you're on a tight time frame, and we will do this again for sure. What would be something that you want to leave and challenge the audience with? Because before you share that, one of the things that I'm doing with the episodes moving forward is not just share great content, but I want to challenge the listeners with something that they can apply to their lives today that's simple and easy to move forward. Because if we just consume information and don't apply it, it's useless. I mean, I appreciate the listeners, but I want them to do something.
Yeah, 100%, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's to put in the work. I think there's a couple things. I think if you're going to, the number one, it still goes back to the body first. I mean, at our website, and this is completely free. It will always be free. We have a 0 to 100 day challenge and a 30-day challenge, but it basically sets you up to working out 45 minutes a day for 30 days. Do that. Do that. Cut out the drinking and stick to a diet for 30 days straight. That'll change your body and your mindset. And that's what I think people need to do just for them. And then the other thing, like, if you want to connect it more on the spiritual side, and maybe you got your body dialed in so already, or you're getting a grip on your body. I don't want to tell you to do that, because that's already, you figured that out. Then, if spiritually, I think the best thing that I ever did was pray for 100 days straight. First asking my friend, how do I do it? So that just goes to show you, Jeff, like, to your point, it's a process. Like, this took me months to actually get the proof that I needed to be able to believe. But the reason why I did that was because I was challenged by a friend that said, hey, look at your wheel of life. Self-rate yourself in your family, your fitness, your relationships, your business, your faith out of 10, maybe your friends, your finances, all these things, areas of life. Rate yourself out of 10 on each one of those things. And I was a 3 in my faith. You could be a 3 in your family or your fitness. Well, the only way to get a 3 to a 10 is by putting in the work. right? And so pick one of those. Could be another thing you do. Do one of these three. Pick, self-rate yourself in the wheel of life. Pick the lowest one and work on that a little bit every single day, and just watch how your life comes around.
And then celebrate when you win.
Yeah.
Be clear, like you said, have a vision board of what going from a 3 to a 5 looks like. Like, what does that look like? And then celebrate. Be proud of yourself. I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, Brady, other than like, how can people find and follow you on Instagram, your website, those type things?
Yeah, Instagram, Brady.McDonald84. Same on Facebook. So the one thing maybe I'll mention, Jeff, is we're raising $1 million for Make-A-Wish charity. So we're going to be giving out 100 wishes to critically ill children across the nation live. We're going to be handing these out live in a big city near you, every single state in 2026. And so I'll be running 50K. And so I'd love if people want to go to 0 to 100wishes.com, they could find me. They could get connected to where we're going to be running the run in their city, the route they could run, walk, stroll, 5K, 10 miles, half marathon, full, any distance. And then at the end, or they could donate or they could sponsor it if you have a company. But at the end, we're going to be giving a life-changing wish through Make-A-Wish to a critically ill child and their family at every city in every state across the nation. So we'd love to have all your listeners out to one of the cities near them.
That's awesome. So I'll get everything from him, all the links, everything that you need to be able to find more information. I'll put it in the show notes. Brady, thank you. This was absolutely awesome. It's exactly what I hoped for.
So great to connect with you again, Jeff.
Yeah, man. We'll hang out 1 second, but ladies and gentlemen, Brady McDonald.
Thank you.